Hi.
Hello.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Dylan, and this is Margaret. And we're broadcasting to you live from Codename Entertainment's streaming studio in beautiful Victoria, BC, Canada. Before we begin, I would like to thank D&D for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It is and will always be an honor to be here. And shout out to Erica, who is helping co-produce and moderate this stream with us. I'm just going to mess with my mic more. I'm not liking the way my voice sounds. And you're like super far. So because Margaret is kind of half off screen, I'm going to switch this thing over like right away. See, now you look like you're supposed to be here.
Oh, yeah.
That's helpful. I'm just like pull it in.
Okay.
Yeah, like you almost want it uncomfortably close.
Scared I'm like going to eat it or something.
No, it's pretty durable. That's what this is for. It's like a protective thing. So I see a lot of our regulars in chat. So hello, Twitch Mithril, Sir Monstein, Cornelius Citri, Arcon Sunseeker, TC Lazaire. Who else is here? I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Narpar. Wait, isn't that Nick? I think that's Nick. I think that's Nick outside the door. I'm pretty sure that's Narpar. Anyways, last week, because we had our pre-recorded interview with Joe Manganello, we wanted to, make ourselves a little bit more open to just chatting, since we took up a huge amount of the last stream with an uninteractable stream, more or less. So if you have questions about IdleChampions, Simril, Crawl, D&D, video games, Brandon Sanderson novels, apparently, we are here for you. Otherwise, we could just kind of watch my formation slowly truck through the Simril Year 3 variant. Yeah, it's just kind of it's slow going, but it's going. Yeah, so I suppose there's a few things we should probably go over, given the last week and a bit. Obviously, Simril 3 is in week 2 right now. Many players have discovered how crushingly powerful Krull is, more specifically how crushingly powerful stacking copies of Krull's many plagues can be. And that's something that we're looking at and that we're gonna make adjustments to, if we haven't already, capping out virulent strain stacking so that players can't get infinite things, because infinite things is kind of game breaking.
Broken.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yes, Margaret is. How was your first solo Q&A? Was it good?
It was okay. It was solo in the sense that I was there, but you guys weren't seeing the amount of chats I had open to various members of the office to get answers that I did not know the answers to. So that was very, very wonderful of the team. So it's sort of like, yes, we'll throw you into the deep end, but we'll also be there in a boat with like life jackets if you need them. So thanks to the team for that. But thank you for everyone too for putting up and having patience with me for that.
I remember when I started, when like I'd been playing the game, but I didn't know what was going on in the back end or why any of the things were the way that they were, and there's a bit of a learning curve. But you're picking up quickly, so you'll be fine. Stormlight or Mistborn?
Oh, Brandon Sanderson novels.
Okay, I'm like, I don't know what that means, so I'm going to assume that's for you.
Both, for different reasons. Stormlight Archive, I love the most, but they're a commitment, whereas I feel like the Mistborn novels I can pick up and I can go through one in like a day or two. Stormlight, that is a solid week of reading right there. So love both.
Just a week?
Depends.
Is that fast or slow? I don't know how big these novels are, so
sizable.
They're not Robert Jordan novels, though. They are.
Yes.
Oh God. All right.
Remember he took over for Robert Jordan.
Yeah, I know. We had that conversation.
Yeah.
He took over after I'd given up. Okay. Cool. What am I reading right now? I'm reading Andy Weir's The Martian, actually, which is an amazing read. But as it turns out, because I hadn't read the book yet, the movie really does have like everything from the book in it, just about.
Oh.
Like really close. I'm actually impressed at this point. I'm like, oh wow, it's actually all there. Like as I'm finishing the book, like.
It's a good adaptation then.
Yeah, it's the movie is a fantastic adaptation, but the book is better in that it's as they always are.
Yeah.
All right. Any clue what's causing the immortal small mobs on bosses? Sayora the Warrior, I'm assuming I pronounced that correctly. I may not. I'm not really clear on the context of that because there's a lot of things that can be going on. So yeah, more data. I see a lot of people in chat trying to figure it out. So one of the things, it makes it really hard to diagnose individual issues on stream or in Q&As because like there is so much going on in the game. There's so much going on in the back end of the game. There's what other things you have running on your computer sometimes come into account depending on what kind of issues you're having. There's a lot. So it's tricky. Not that we won't try because we will. But most of the time, we'd be like, maybe you should open an in-game support ticket and talk to Sean. So
he knows things.
He
knows
does
when things are broken. He's
yeah. He's kind of like the first line triage for support tickets, categorizing them into things that he could fix and things that specific devs need to look at depending on who worked on what. And anywho, sorry, I just need a little more information. If it's I do know that Krull's plagues have been having some really interesting interactions, and when we say unintended interactions, what we mean is like, yes, we designed him to function in all these specific ways, and like it is more or less functioning as was predicted. But I mean, as smart as the people are who work on our game, and there's some smart folks here, you can't predict every conceivable interaction, and sometimes things happen. So, I'll just leave it at that. Erica is saying Margaret must be fast at reading the Stormlight Archive. 3 1,000-page books. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
No. I meant a book a week.
Oh, okay. That's more human.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have a job. I'm not like reading underneath my desk, but
that would be awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when I used to read a novel every couple of days, and then I went back to college to change careers and learned how to hate reading again because of all the forced reading you have to do. And like it took a while to recover from that, where you're just kind of like, I've had to read so much stuff I don't like reading or I don't want to read, that it just wears away at my ability to enjoy it. Kind of like how when I used to work in professional kitchens way back in the day, how I learned to hate cooking, which is why chefs always eat hot dogs and stuff at home. It took a while before I was like, all right, I'm enjoying this again. But yeah.
Well, you used to work at Starbucks. It took me a while to like be willing to make my own coffee. It's like, no, I just drink tea now. No coffee.
Well, I mean, I like tea more than coffee anyways, which is to say I've had like I think I've had 5 cups of coffee in my life at this point.
That is not a lot of coffee.
It's too acidic. Does not agree with me. Yeah. First time I had it, I'm like, my body doesn't like this at all. I'm like, it smells nice. But it just, but tea is amazing. Plus, my grandmother is from London. I grew up drinking tea, so I drink tea. Anyways, what else we got? Favorite spren type so far?
More Renato Sanderson questions.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what a spren is.
Cryptics, because pattern is awesome.
Alrighty. Sorry if somebody already asked. Any chance of getting a few more hints for hidden codes? Only a few weeks until they expire, and we are still missing a few. Hey, that's a good point, actually. I forgot that it was December until today. It's like December 5. I'm like entering the date everywhere, but it's not like sinking in.
No, Christmas is coming. The end of the year is coming. The end of the decade is coming.
So yeah, I did promise to give more hints. Let me just have a look at what I.
Maybe they need a guiding hand.
What's left? Let's see. See, so many of these have been discovered at this point. The last one is going to be tough. Because it's very much tied to a specific character, but it's you see, your hint was too good.
Hey, it works.
Yeah. I was gonna save that one.
Oh, I'm the worst.
No, it's all right.
Ruined
It's all right.
everything.
It's all right. Now I don't have to give another hint because Margaret already gave one. So yeah, I was going to talk about the one that's actually difficult, but now I'm just going to wait and see if anybody discovers it before the end of the year. And my money is on no, but you never know. Yeah. Plus, a bunch of these follow a pattern, so it's not like players do know which character that is for. So it's just something to figure out. Does it have to do with a new character coming? No, but it has to do with something. It would have been really obvious in a little while. Yeah. So that was spoiled. All right, what's next?
The worst.
Yeah. It's all right. You should see Chris on stream. He loves talking about everything that's being worked on. Yeah. Anti-disestablishment. What? What's this? Oh, how does it have to do with a new character coming? I mean, the only confirmed characters coming after Krull are the one for Winter Shield and the one for New Year's Day. And it's still a little early to talk about Winter Shield's champion because we are still in the event of Krull. Krull is still successfully helping players get real far. So yeah, them plagues are good. So do you still read like a 1,000-page book a week, or
Yes.
Yeah, you still maintain that pace?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Like a lot of the times I just curl up at home, read.
Yeah.
I find it a good form of escapism.
Yeah. Do you reread books, or is it just new
Yes.
stuff?
A
Oh, you do
lot.
reread. Okay.
I do a lot of rereading. It's
Huh.
kind of like, it's like I know how this goes. It's sort of a safe, like, okay, I need some escapism, but I want to go to like a familiar world.
Yeah.
Enjoy it again.
A comfort book.
Comfort book.
Okay.
The Song of Ice and Fire is not a comfort book. I'm not rereading those until I'm ready to put myself through that emotional trauma again.
That's interesting. I don't know that I'm trying to think of anything I've reread ever. I don't tend to reread books. And the ones that I like, I tend to remember everything that happened in them anyways. Or at least the vast majority of it. But I don't have comfort reads, I don't think. I have comfort movies. Some of which are terrible movies.
Like,
Well, we talked about it a bit last week. Kingdom of Heaven is not a good movie, and I still love it. I couldn't tell you why. I just enjoy it. I think it's just like the aspirational nature of the characters trying to aspire to making a better world. You know, the whole Don Quixote type thing I kind of have always found really appealing. And yeah, so that's why I like it. But I will concede that the theatrical cut of that movie is hot garbage. Like I remember seeing it in the theater and thinking the movie was trash, and then giving it another chance when it came out on like as a director's cut. I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is any better, and it is. It's like 40 minutes longer, and all the subplots that were in the movie are actually expanded upon and have a reason to be there. There's still tons of stupid stuff and tons of historically inaccurate stuff, but it is a vastly better movie, and a lot of the stuff that was inexplicable in the original cut is explicable now. But I don't know. Yeah. Ender's Game is also garbage, book and film. Well, see, I don't agree. I think I'm not a fan of the author because I don't think he's a good person. But that book was a serious sci-fi milestone.
Yeah.
And the film was a reasonable adaptation of it. I had a fun moment. Actually, I watched it with my wife, and she hadn't read the book, so we're watching the movie, and she's blown away by like the way it all ends. And I'm like, I was just waiting to see your reaction for the whole film, basically, because, yeah. But yeah, Orson Scott Card, not my favorite. Does not have my favorite views of writers.
books I like to pick up secondhand.
Yeah. Well, it's also one of those things, I guess, Like how do you separating the art from the artist? Because like there are a lot of artists I don't like whose art I like, and it gets tough. Actually, I'm not going to jump down that rabbit hole right now. That seems like a bad idea. What do we got? If someone is new, is there any downside to spam opening chests? So there is in one context, Damon Black. If the new character happens to be a Evergreen Unlock character like Dragonbait will be on January 1st, you'll want to save any extra gold chests for once Dragonbait is here because, hey, you can gear out Dragonbait really quickly because his gear will be prioritized to start until he has all rares and then all epics, assuming you have epics across all of your other core and Evergreen champions. So that's the only context where there's a downside. At the same time, there are feats and item levels and stuff in chests. So like you kind of just have to weigh the pros and cons for you. I wouldn't hold back on opening gold chests unless you have at least all epic gear on all of your champions. So yeah. Are we still on track for January 1st? Yeah. We're in something of an interesting crunch in that we're trying to not just get ahead for our Christmas break, but we're trying to get further ahead so that we are regularly, 1 to 2 months ahead of release for everything that's being developed. Once you reach that cadence and you've caught up, and it just makes it a lot more manageable for people on the developer end. And what do we got? Well, can you give us an update on when the Archon skin is coming? So players can see an Archon the Cruel in my formation, who's a little more cruel looking than the default model. Now, there have been some glitches with the launch of this skin and feet pack in that it has kind of poked its head out on some platforms for periods of time already. But the intended launch date is next week. Next week. I want to say Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. Wednesday? Let's go with Wednesday. Wednesday is not as early as Tuesday, so that way if I'm, so it's coming next week, and the Hand of Vecna feat itself has this unique mechanic in that it slowly drains Archon's life essence, but offers a dramatically more powerful damage buff than any other feat ever has. So you will want him to have a healer adjacent, or in this case, to be usurping a heal in order to keep him up. So it's just kind of a unique bit of flavor. Also, the model looks absolutely insane. It looks so awesome. Adam did a killer job of basically adding a lot more spikes to Arcon. But also, like, his animations had to be redone because, like, we switched which hand his axe is in, which is a big difference for a game like ours. Reanimating models and so on. So, yeah. Are you going to rework Dragonbait's current in-game model for his 1st of January release? Yes. He is. He's going to get updated. It's not going to be like a graphical overhaul because the Dragonbait that has already shown up in the game is Dragonbait. But now Dragonbait will be a little different. Yeah. He'll be carrying his sword. He'll have his shield. And I've seen a sneak peek of what his design is going to look like. And it looks really, really cool. Aogain 10. Offline progress when? We're not going to give a release date on it because there's a number of things that we need to work through on it. We have some players helping us with beta testing for it right now. And it's just premature to give a final release date on when it's coming. I can say that it's in development, and I can tell you not to expect it before the end of this year. It's going to take a little bit, but it's something that we've been wanting to get done for a while. It is an extremely challenging endeavor, it's coming. Cornelius Sutri, who is healing in your current formation? So Tyrrell he heals adjacent champions. And he is adjacent to both Korth and Paulton right now, and then Archon is stealing that because that be Arcon. He steals things. I think he's also stealing the shield buff from Calliope as well, because Brunner, Warden, and Ayla all have that, and so Archon is also stealing that. So he is, well being kept alive at the moment. Altaholics Anonymous. I like that. That's funny. Any plans to change Krull's buffs to be boosted by Archon's specialization? Not at this time. We're pretty happy with the amount of power that Krull is bringing to formations. Maybe even too happy about the possibly too much power he has managed to bring so far. So we're keeping an eye on it. We may make further adjustments depending on how things pan out. But it's we're not planning to boost Krull's buffs because he's real good. All right. Certain variants where you lose slots over time, like Lost in the Deep, On the Hunt, etc., have become trivial due to base ultimate damage, as you can just drop back to level 1, set your bud, then turn on auto progress with a Fire Breath potion and complete it. Do you plan to change this so they are challenging again, or are you fine with this? Garwar, that's a really actually interesting and surprisingly deep question. So there's a lot of things to unpack there. One, like, as we develop content, it's not always able. It's not something we're always able. Like, we can't test every single variant in the game multiple times to make sure that everything works out with it every time we update it. Which is to say, like, a patron comes out or two patrons come out, and knowing that, was it Call of Bragendarth, or what's the name of that adventure? The one where Jarlaxle is supposed to be in it. When Jarlaxle isn't available for one patron, like, there are going to be instances where there's some issues with that. The thing about base ultimate damage, I mean, like you're doing that in a really clever and, quite frankly, like, really advanced mechanically way. So it's an interesting thing to bring up, that I'm gonna double check with the devs to see what their plans are related to it. But I mean, certainly we want challenging variants to actually be challenging. So that is a very cool way to get around it. Yeah, I'm gonna make a note for who would like to deal with that the most. By most, I mean least. I'll just put a note for Justin. Can you hint at any future champions past January 1st, 2020? I can hint at, sure. We have been working our way through some popular parties of characters, and we do plan to continue adding them to the game. I don't think that's a spoiler. There are at least two more heroes from High Roller's Heroist coming to the game. Just as an example. So there's that. There are a number of cool shows / streams / live shows / podcasts / etc. That we are working with. And then we also, we have other parties that we haven't finished. That's basically, I know that's a little vague, but there's a bunch coming. We have, at this point, like, obviously the rest of this year is locked in, and the release dates are firm, which is why we can say that there's an assassin coming next event. Q1 next year is, like, loosely locked in at this point, and will probably be firmly locked in the very near future if it isn't already. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming. Dark Dragon, would offline progress be something like zone progression while the game is off? That's exactly what it is. So our goal with offline progress is to allow players to set up their formations for whichever adventure or variant they are on, and turn the game off and have it progress. So you're not obligated to have the game running all the time. That's the goal. But it also, there's lot to calculate with offline progress. Like the players who are beta testing it can attest. Although I guess they're not supposed to talk about it, but basically when you load up the game, it says calculating offline progress, and then it waits, and as it tries to figure it out, and a crazy amount of math happens. And depending on what you were doing and what your formation was like and what your familiars were like and which adventure it is and what's going on in that adventure, like there's a lot to calculate. So we're working on it. But yeah, the plan is to allow players to turn the game off. But especially if you're a PS4 player or an Xbox One player or a tablet/mobile player, like being able to turn the game off and have it make progress is a really big deal. I know I have a pretty ridiculously high-end PC at home, so like I can just leave the game running and do whatever else I feel like doing in the background. But that's not the case for everybody. So this is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. We're happy to finally be working on, but is extremely challenging to do, and it may take a while for us to finish it. So yeah, that's the plan. Alrighty. Observation and question. Hey, I was expecting this. Chasm of Bones is asking the question I was expecting. It is fairly obvious the power scale difference between new champions like Avern and Krull, and even recently reworked or released champions. This format isn't necessarily proper to highlight a lot of the concerns of this, but can you shed some light on why such a dramatic departure from the previous buff range is not something that we should be concerned about? I don't know why you'd be concerned about it anyways. We are always going to try to do something new and unique with any character that we make. Like, what we don't want to do is, copy paste character design. Everybody that we talk to, every creator that we work with, every book character that we read, etc. We want to represent their character, but we also want them to do something different in the formation. There's only so much that you can plan for in terms of interaction. Like, you have a high hypothesis and you run some numbers and you think that it's going to work in a certain way. And, sometimes that hits the mark that you're expecting to hit, like with Avern. And sometimes, there are some interactions that you didn't plan for, like with Krull. And so, we're going to tweak them as necessary. It's not a change in our design philosophy. It's like we're just challenging ourselves to do something new. That being said, there is always a slight element of power creep because, you are always earning equipment and item levels and power for your core characters and your evergreen characters, and it gets harder and harder to justify swapping any of them out for somebody else. So yeah, it's a balancing act that we walk the tightrope, and sometimes we make it exactly where we want, and sometimes some adjustments need to be made. Avern is good, but we're not unhappy with how good Avern is. Sentry is good and hit the mark pretty much on the head, and then Krull is doing some pretty crazy stuff. Like I said, unintended interactions. So yeah, we'll tweak as necessary. Let's see, Condre 369. I literally don't even know how to use patrons. That's a statement and a half. Basically, from your adventure select screen, you can choose whether or not to activate one of the patrons, assuming you've unlocked them, and then they will add another restriction to you completing adventures, and then you will have access to all the variants you have completed already regularly without patrons. And then you'll be able to do those variants, both with the restriction from your patron and the restrictions they already had, which can make some of them vastly more difficult. And some of them are still kind of trivial, depending on what champions have unlocked. And you do that, you earn currency and favor with those patrons. You spend their favor on their upgrades. I can't remember if they're called blessings or not right now. And you buy stuff from their shop, which is their own unique shop. So you can get like a There's a Dritz skin in one of the shops. There's a Jamila skin in one of the shops. Yeah, some pretty cool stuff. A new patron, perhaps. A bald cleric patron. Oh, you're talking about next year stuff, Cornelia Sultry? You know, that seems like a really obvious way to bring that character to the game. I don't know. We might. It's always possible. Kabrinsky268. When is the Archon skin available to buy? That'll be next week. I believe Wednesday. You know, launches being global and multi-platform, and you know, it's a rough estimate. You know, whether or not it all shows up at exactly like 10 a.m. Pacific across every platform seems unlikely. Sometimes it changes, take a little time to propagate, but the rough time is Wednesday next week. Why does the collections exist? There are no achievements for filling out a Champions collection. It doesn't even exist on console. Is it time to remove it completely, or do you have plans for it to make it relevant and not just an OCD problem for some of us? What can I say about that? That's a tough question to answer, Garwar. Because I'm trying to remember. So what I don't want to do is misquote something that I've heard in the office and have it sound like we're committed to a specific course of action when we might not be, because those kinds of plans can change. But this exact question is one that we have had discussions about recently. So I'll probably just leave it at that, because I don't have a definitive answer for you, in that I don't have an answer I can give you that is the guaranteed course of action we're taking for it. But I can confirm that specific discussion is ongoing. Condra 369. Recommendation, Matthew Mercer should be a patron since he's canon as a person in Waterdeep. Yeah, if you're referring to the art in the Waterdeep Dragon Heist book, where there's like the inside of the yawning portal and like 100 characters or something in there, and Matt Mercer is one of them. Yeah. I think in this specific case, I don't think Wizards of the Coast owns Matt Mercer's likeness. So, like, without Matt expressly giving us permission, I don't think, even if it already exists canonically in Waterdeep, we can just take him and use him in the game. You know, and like we work with the folks at Critical Role, and you know, we know them, and we would never just do that. You know, take him and use him. Yeah, no,
that would be awkward.
Yeah, that's unlikely to happen, because we like them and we like working with them. So, yeah, you know, that's probably unlikely to happen. There are a number of, actually, there are quite a few extremely popular and important characters from Forgotten Realms novels that are on our lists of becoming patrons, and it's unlikely that we will do a Matt Mercer patron now or in the future, unless he comes to us. He's like, guys, I really want to be one, in which case we'll be like, yeah, sure, let's do it. But no, that's unlikely to happen. I don't want to get anybody's hopes up unrealistically. Mage Pie, is there a way to have Black Viper's Aura of Infamy boost to certain buffs be displayed similar to Archon's boost to buff via bulk/usurp power? That's a good question. I can't remember if it does that already or not. I'm going to have to follow up on that one, Mage Pie, because I haven't actually used Black Viper. Like, I after getting like 6,500 gems or something, I stopped playing with Black Viper. Which I suspect that happened to a few people, because she doesn't scale infinitely like Zorbu. So I'll have to follow up with that. How does Warden feel about Averin? I don't think Warden feels. You know, like, Warden was a Warforged created specifically to be the warden of a prison of just like otherworldly things. And, you know, it was kind of just like one of those creations focused on duty above all other things, and then, you know, basically got corrupted into serving Hadar, who is not somebody you want to serve. It's not a patron you want. And like Warden is basically now a walking robot made out of cancer and metal. Just
Sad.
just malignant tumors, tentacles growing all through it, all the organic parts. It's not a positive story for a Warden. Warden is I don't think that Warden feels much about anything. It's just kind of roaming the multiverse in service of their patron, delivering souls to be corrupted, other things to be corrupted, helping their patron devour things. I would say that Warden doesn't feel. And for those wondering, yes, I'm using singular they. Warden does not have a gender. Warden doesn't identify with a gender, or even really with humans or humanoids. I know that in some cases a Warforged might identify with a gender, like Sentry is distinctly female, but Warden is a they. Yeah. Alrighty, Dark Dragon again. Why does the graphical user interface in the video look different than my game's? So I am using the Gamepad UI so that I can play with this here controller. This is a knockoff Xbox controller, which is to say it is exactly an Xbox controller, but it does not have the official stamps or text on it. So I'm pretty sure it came from not North America. Anyways, I like the look of this interface for streaming a little more than the mouse and keyboard / tablet UI. So I tend to switch this one on. And if you are on Steam, you can also switch this one on. So Warden should become a Wii. Maybe. I mean, it really depends. Warden still has their own free-ish, their own individuality at this point. If that changes, then they could become a Wii. Can we get feats saved in quick formation saves? I'm not going to lie, Lisa. I think that might be the first time that question's ever been asked. I'll pass the suggestion along. I don't know that it'll happen, but you never know. The idea of being able to, because you think about games like, I don't know, The Division, where you can save a loadout, where it's like all of your equipment, all of your mods, all of your stuff, so that you can swap between it quickly. This is kind of a similar thing, but I don't know if that's in line with what the dev team wants to do moving forward with either feats or formation saves. But either way, I'll pass the feedback along. That would be a good one. Can we have summoning champions like a necromancer so that his summons also fight? Krull's ultimate summons a bunch of exploding ghouls. But you mean what they do is it's a necromancer at the part of the formation, and he's creating an endless army of undead to tank or something, which sounds really cool. Also sounds like a memory leak waiting to happen, but I could pass the suggestion along because it's cool, but I don't think that in our relatively near future there are any creators that we're working with who have a character that fits that description. So if it does ever happen, it won't be soon. Yeah, that would be for wrong person. I find myself switching feats when I switch to an Azaka formation. As more champions come in, I'm having to do it more. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. It's an interesting point, Lisa. It's just not something that has come up yet. Like I said, you were the first time I have heard it. Alrighty. How about some crossover? Raceland, hint, hint. It being IdleChampions, the Forgotten Realms, introducing characters from Kryn is unlikely, and introducing characters like Raceland Majir from the Dragonlance novels is extremely unlikely. That would be super cool. Who doesn't want a golden super wizard? Or I guess it depends on which version of him you use, but it would be cool. I would like that. I read a lot of Dragonlance books growing up because I was a huge nerd, and he was an amazing character in them. But it is unlikely to happen in IdleChampions of the Forgotten Realms. I know that we dip our toes throughout the material plane in that we have, a character from Eberron and we have several characters from Erebos. But Kryn is unlikely, at least for now. Do I already know what is included in the Archon pack? Well, it's the Hand of Vecna Archon skin and feet pack. So you get the Hand of Vecna skin, you get the Hand of Vecna feet, which is a unique epic feat, and I don't know, an assortment of chests and potions that I actually honestly don't know what they are off the top of my head because I haven't looked into it. But yeah. Rename it IdleChampions of D&D and give us Raceland. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Yeah. The obligatory give dev vlog, please. Baby Yoda, grab your hands. Yeah. I don't know when Justin plans to do that. Right now, what he is designing, I think, like all of the Q1 champions for 2020 at the same time right now, or something ridiculous like that. Like Justin's busy. But yeah, we hear you. We know it's something that you want, and it's quite frankly, it's information we want to share. But we need to be in a position where we were comfortable with explaining it all, because, yeah, I don't. Wait, no, I was about to say we've talked about this before, but maybe we haven't. We like things to be in a relative state of being locked in pretty firmly before we like talking about them, and. Yeah, it's yeah. Gotta wait. We all gotta wait. Alrighty. How about you make an FAQ list for streams for questions about things like PvP or the UI? I don't really mind answering repeat questions because it means that we have new players joining the game. I can see why people might get frustrated by hearing the same answers from me over and over and over again. But it's just, I think it's important to answer them when you can. Yeah. In terms of an FAQ list, we tried making one once and we realized how much stuff needs to be in it. Just like over the breadth of explaining the game and all the different stuff. And just, it's just not something that anybody on our end has the time to put together. Because we actually are that busy. Yeah, sorry. I don't want to drink that. I want to drink my tea. Will Binwin Plays IdleChampions return? It's unlikely. Binwin Plays is just Binwin Plays now. I think it's still on. I think they do their own thing on Fridays now. Let me double check that schedule. Oh, wrong channel. Yeah, it's still there. So if you're on the D&D Twitch at 3 p.m. Pacific on Fridays, Binwin Plays is hosted. And I believe it's hosted from the Table Titans Twitch as well, but yeah. Binwin Plays is still a thing, but they play other things. I think last thing I checked, they were playing Eye of the Beholder, which is from 1991 or something. Like it's an old AD&D game, So... can we get a tiny-handed orange troll with bad hair? I think we can do better. I think we can all do better. Weekend buffs. Oh, yeah, sure. Dun, 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 dun. One thing I can say about our weekend buffs this week is that I don't know how finalized they are. Usually they're finalized by now, but... Basically, an entire batch of them going right through until sometime in January has all been made. And I just don't know if it's 100% locked in. So bear with me. But this coming weekend, let's see. Buffs 2. Hitch, Celeste, Ayla, Spurt, and Zorbu with an item for Ayla. That may or may not be the case when this weekend rolls around, but that is the current plan. I'm going to leave that window open because there's somebody who always comes in right at the end of the stream and asks. So let's see. I have lost touch to newer RPG products of D&D, so please forgive me that old school. A rather non-canonical part of history was Neverwinter Nights. What about characters from this product? Especially Part 2 had brilliant characters developing for that time. Could be another option to add a new flavor for bench characters. Yeah, I mean, Deacon Scalesinger's from Neverwinter Nights, isn't he? I could have sworn that's what he was from, because he's not from the Baldur's Gate games. You know, it's been so long. Those games all came out like 20 years ago. I can't remember. I get it all mixed up. It's like a blur. Like, I could have sworn. Yeah, Deacon was Neverwinter Nights. Yeah, okay. So it's not just me. So we've kind of started in that direction. And you know what? Quite frankly, there are other characters, both from the Neverwinter Nights series and the Baldur's Gate series, and that we would like to add, and that we may or may not be adding in the future. So, yeah. Master Goo. Some in-game specials in case of New Year. I'm not sure what that means. Master Goo 7 or Master Goose? Master Goosen? Master Goo Savino? I'm not really sure what that name is. Like, is it just Master Goose? Anyways, if you could elaborate, that would be great. Mr. Nigerton. Also, I'd rather have a Vistani patron. A Vistani patron would be good. Madame Eva would make a good patron. Especially if she like has something that's just like really debilitating that she does to you and messes you over. Because, you know, making things more difficult is awesome. Let's see. Any plans on making Idle Champions less idle? For example, more interactive boss fights, like a minigame or similar, make them optional, but give small rewards if players choose to participate. That's not something that we're planning to do at this time. What is that? God's Screamot? Is that the name? God's Creamot? Anyways, we're not planning on making the game more interactive than it already is. You know, it's kind of... You know, there are some challenging variants and bosses that it's very helpful to have active play for, because, you know, you want to make sure that you're either swapping champions in and out, or you're using ultimates at very specific times to keep everybody alive. And like, that's the kind of gameplay that we don't mind preserving. But in terms of taking it a step up beyond that, trying to make the game more interactive than it already is, I don't know, like quick time events for bosses or something like that. That's not a design direction that we're pursuing at this time. So.
Also, apparently it's a God Scream from Austria.
Oh, God Scream from Austria. Oh, cool. Is that a thing? I don't know. I've never been to Austria.
He wrote the AUT is Austria.
Oh, okay. Yeah, kind of like we had, what was the guy's name? Something PDX, and it was just like, it was something Portland. That's what he meant. Maybe characters from Planescape Torment. Yeah, we could always add more characters from Planescape. I mean, I guess people are generally, when they're saying add characters from something, they mean as champions, which isn't always what we mean. Like, sometimes we just mean an NPC is going to be Nordum, like in one of our adventures. But yeah, there's some characters in Planescape Torment that would be pretty interesting. Characters from Ravnica. That's a hard no, most likely. Condre, and not because we don't like characters from Magic the Gathering, but because Hasbro and Wizards it's important to them to keep Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons separate in most cases. And like, while Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is a thing, and there's all those plane shift modules to kind of allow you to create different Magic the Gathering planes as settings for your D&D play. It's, you know, Jace the Mind Sculptor or Jace Bellerin is never going to show up in Idle Champions as a character. It's just not going to happen. And other characters are extremely unlikely. It's kind of a similar thing to Raceland, in that, like, these are separate universes, and, you know, them crossing over is an extremely special and rare occurrence. Like with the book Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, it is not something that's likely to happen on a regular basis. And again, Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. So why would there be any planeswalkers from Magic the Gathering in the Forgotten Realms? And I say that as somebody who's like, it would be cool if, like, for year 3 or 4 of the Great Modron March, they were infected by Phyrexian oil. That would be awesome, but it's not going to happen. Did I just talk gibberish to you? Do you know what Phyrexians are?
No, I don't.
Okay. That's all right.
You know.
Yeah. I'm deep into some nerd cultures. I just haven't read any Brandon Sanderson novels already. Let's see. Wanted to give y'all props for community interaction, etc. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Sorry, I was expecting a question in there, and then I realized I was reading a compliment. Will Switch get an IdleChampions release? I cannot comment on that kind of topic. Yeah. Let's see. One hidden combination remains, and it is a champion one. Can you confirm or deny that it is for Strix? Garwar, I can confirm that the remaining hidden combinations for, if you look at both the first series and the second series, there are some very distinct patterns that hold true.
Yes.
Yeah, no more spoiling.
No, I do not remember enough to spoil. And, I'll be in enough trouble as it is.
Alrighty. What about monster heroes from the Forgotten Realms, for example? A frost giant with special traits. Frost giants are just kind of so Krull is the largest champion we've ever made by leaps and bounds, and you can just see how much of the formation space he takes up. He's partially obscuring Archon. He's in the formation circles, overlapping with everybody. Part of him is behind Grama there, part of him is behind Warden there, part of him is in front of Bruner, Pirate Bruner. Look at that and then realize that a frost giant is enormous, and there's no way for us to put one in the formation that doesn't take up all of the space on screen.
The formation is a frost giant?
Yeah. So it's not something that we're likely to do, at least specifically with a frost giant. However, there are a number of monstrous races that are PC options for 5e. A bunch of them were in Volo's Guide to Monsters. And it's very possible that one or more of them, other than kobolds, will end up in the game. Yeah, I can probably leave that. Demon Rabbit from Holy Grail confirmed, coming in 2020. That would be cool. I love that film, but no, not going to do it. What about a Goblin Hero, an Artificer? That would be cool too. The challenge with Artificers is that none of the creators that we work with have one. So there's no way for us to include it that way. And then on top of that, there are no distinct Forgotten Realms lore artificers that we know of that would make good champions. And so it's just there hasn't been an organic way for us to fit one in the game yet, which means that we would need to create them. And we don't have any room in our calendar to create our own character in the near future. So yes, we could possibly make an artificer in the future, maybe even a goblin artificer, but it's not something in our plans. Tiamat boss when? I don't know. We're kind of all just working for Tiamat right now, right? The divine favor for Descent into Avernus is Tiamat's favor. Tiamat as a boss.
How would that even work with Arcon?
Well, he would kill you.
Yeah.
He'd be locked out of the formation.
You'd be no.
Archon and Krull would just be unavailable. And then he would just summon endless armies of undead and stuff with the Hand of Ekna and just kill you. Anyways, Quasit familiar. Yeah, that's possible. Quasit's a good suggestion. Quasits are really obnoxious. I drove my players nuts with a Quasit last summer. No, wait. Year before last. Oh, God, that was 2018. We were playing an office one shot, and they failed to kill a Quasit. And since Quasits are obnoxious and can make themselves invisible, it just followed them for the rest of the adventure, just messing with them. And every time our paladin did sense evil, he could sense that the Quasit was nearby. And it was just pissing him off. That was great. I had a lot of fun with that one. What about a champion that by default takes up more than one formation slot? Probably not at this time. So that's kind of a tricky thing in that, you see the layout of our grid. Large characters, it presents a different challenge. Krull is already about as big as we'd ever like to get with a character. And there are other characters in the future of this game that are also that big. Having a 2 formation slot character or more isn't something that we're looking to do right now. But I suppose like it's possible. I mean, anything's possible. Yeah, so it's not something we're planning to do, but it's technically possible. You know, if our developers really wanted to do something that probably game breaking, let's be honest. Yeah, taking up 3 slots with 1 character, that would be a pretty fundamental change to a lot of stuff. 2 slots, 3 slots. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe someday. It would be kind of cool. Yeah. Dragonbait is pretty large. Well, Sorials aren't that big, though, Arcon. Like, Dragonbait showed up large in the adventure in-game because of the way that he was approaching the party as an NPC. In the formation, he's not going to be quite that large. He'll be big, though. Like, he's certainly going to be bigger than Calliope. But yeah, we shall see. Oh, sounds like somebody's winning something. Because I see that Erica typed a drum roll. Silisa. Oh, wow. Congratulations. So, you were saying that you have a bunch of comfort novels. Do you lean heavily towards fantasy, or is there other stuff that you look forward to?
Mostly fantasy. Yeah. Some sci-fi. Probably top sci-fi novels would be Dune and Hyperion, but mostly fantasy.
So what is it about those sci-fi novels that made them crack the list of Margaret's fantasy novel habits?
They're just really good.
Yeah.
Like the storytelling, especially in Hyperion, is just like trying to figure out who the traitor is like awesome.
Yeah.
And like each of the characters has their own really interesting narrative of like what led them to this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you read any of the more classic stuff by like Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury and so on?
I'm just not as into space.
Yeah. Okay.
And
not necessarily as into hard sci-fi.
No.
Dune is space fantasy. Like,
yeah, but it's awesome.
No, it's good. I read all of it. Yeah. Actually, no, they're probably still making them because after he passed away, who was it who was writing them with Frank Herbert's son? Wasn't Brandon Sanderson?
No.
It was somebody else. Somebody in chat will probably remember before I do. But I read all the ones that Frank Herbert wrote, and then all the ones that were made after that, up until they wrapped up the story that Frank Herbert had started. Because they were kind of full of shit in that they're like, oh, in order to understand how this series ends, because Frank Herbert made 7 of them, and there was only going to be one more. They're like, in order to understand that last one, you need to make 2 or 3 trilogies that took place before Dune, and another one that took place after the stuff that he had written, just to give context to it. And having read all that, I disagree. But
even with the original series, I still think you can just you can take Dune as a standalone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only one that you can take as a standalone that is phenomenal. Yeah, no, and it's also just way better than the other ones. The writing doesn't get better. Yeah. What about have you read any William Gibson or Neil Stephenson, really mind bendy stuff?
Not tons.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the next thing on my list is the Brent Weeks, the finale to his Lightbringer series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Blinding Light.
Haven't read any of them.
Okay.
No.
But the series is finished. It has an ending, and that is exciting when it comes to books.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's only one more Expanse book coming out, so I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah.
It's hard when you get into a new series and it's and 2 of 3 are out, and we've been waiting how many years?
If it's measured in decades, the response is don't read them because it's not coming. Yeah. God, yeah. I remember reading all that Dune stuff and then just being kind of the ending was okay, but I think it would have actually been better without all the extra context. One of the things that makes that first Dune novel so good is that it feels like there's 20,000 years of history behind it.
Yes.
And you read it and you feel like that world is that deep. And so reading the novels based on those stories that fit in all that background doesn't actually make it a more enjoyable experience or a better book. Because yeah, it was just that multi-textured first book that made it so good. And then as they pursue that storyline to its end, it's just not that great of an ending.
Oh.
Yeah. Plus, whether they intended to or not, they fall into a bunch of sci-fi tropes towards the end. That's just kind of like, that I'm not going to spoil because that would be spoiling like 15 books for people, and I'm not going to do that.
Rude. That's rude.
Yeah. I'll wait until after we're done streaming, and then I'll ruin it. Cool. What else we got? Oh, we got more questions. I think this was asked in the past, but would the 80s cartoon characters ever make it as skins or characters? Would love a formation with them for nostalgia purposes. So it's not something that we're looking to do, but I can confirm that, hey, those characters are owned by D&D, and we do technically have access to them if we wanted to bring them in. They also present a lot of problematic things in that, like, you have what is essentially like a 10 or 12-year-old girl in a fur bikini as one of the characters, because like they're a product of their time. Like some of that stuff's not as accessible now as it was then. So if we did it, if we ever considered doing that, we would definitely evolve the design to be more be more in line with the current standards for what is acceptable, in terms of representation in D&D. So yeah, the TLDR is they would never come into the game the way that they were. They just wouldn't. Yeah. Speaking of, Lauren sent this to me at one point in chat, and I don't see Lauren in chat today, Oboe Crazy, but there's a Brazilian car commercial that uses them that is awesome.
What?
It's super awesome.
Okay, I need to go find that.
Yeah, I'll show you after this. It's great. And it's great in the most... it's funny because it's live action D&D basically for a car commercial, but like in the best ways. And there's no way they got D&D's okay for it, but I don't know why anybody would care because it just looks awesome. It's ridiculous. Anyways. Slot 13 for large monsters or alternate formations if you want to use slot 13. I mean, maybe. Like right now, there are different formations for... there's, multiple formations per event. Lauren is on her way to Pact Unplugged. That totally makes sense,
yes.
Source. Thanks. I forgot that's this weekend because we were talking to Alyssa yesterday, and she was in transit also. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so alternate formations. So we already have, at least 2 formations per event, 3 for year 3 events. So there's all those formations. We have 17 events. And then we also have 4 permanent campaigns, each of which has their own formation. Creating alternate formations for all of that is unlikely to happen for large monsters. Like it doesn't strike me as the kind of workload that we would take on. Now, the idea of using slot 13, like slot 13 is the oversized character slot, and like when you drag them over to your formation, they can take up 3 slots in a triangle facing forwards or backwards, and that's the only way you can put them in. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a possibility, but again, this isn't something that we're looking to do.
No.
So, I'll pass the feedback along to the dev team, and they'll probably laugh at me, but you never know. You never know. Alrighty. You were discussing offline progress earlier. What would happen if somebody reached auto-ban territory during offline mode? I mean, I don't know that that's a possibility because the people who are making it into auto-ban territory tend to be doing it either with a combination of cheats and, well, basically they're making it there with cheats if they're being auto-banned. And like I get that active play is reaching the point where you can get closer and closer to it. If players are going to do that, we'll move it. Basically, yeah. But players making it to auto bans, like that's area 1100, you're almost definitely cheating. You're using something to hack the game in some way. It's just, that's what happens. Alrighty. And yes, there are the rare instances where there is a bug, but then again, if there's a bug and that's what you use to get there, you're still exploiting the game, which is still basically cheating. You're using something, you're using a cheat that we accidentally introduced as opposed to one that you introduced. So it happens. If for some reason a disproportionate number of players are starting to get auto banned through offline progress or something, we would just change the area where that is. Let's see. I think this was asked in the past, but I already answered that one. Alrighty. If I want my own characters in the game, what is more likely? Starting my own D&D stream or writing D&D books? Writing D&D books, probably. If you got hired on as somebody to write a novel for the Forgotten Realms, for Wizards of the Coast, the chances of your characters showing up in the game would get real high. In terms of TV shows or streams or podcasts or whatever, it's becoming a saturated market. It wasn't a few years ago, but there are a lot of them now. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
We can all now admit how much we like D&D.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like we haven't reached critical mass for how many podcasts and shows there are. But like there was, LA Times and New York Times coverage of Critical Role at this point, right? Like not regular, but it's reached the point where it's becoming very mainstream. And like people are going to keep creating shows and like, I don't know, maybe you want to keep up with your friends' shows or whatever. Like there's a lot of reasons to have that content exist and engage with it. But I think we already passed the point where there's a show that has soaked up the vast majority of the audience, we'll see. I think making a podcast or show successful enough, or even just successful, like whatever your base level is, like making one that's successful at this point would be really difficult. So yeah, if you're going to do anything like that, do it because you love it, not because you're trying to get your characters in our game. Writing D&D books is probably easier. We're adding. Yeah, I was about to spoil something unintentionally by going now off on a tangent, and I stopped myself this time. If you complete Area 1100, your game will lock up. It'll be like, hey, you need to contact us. So something beyond that, like a lot of players think that our auto banner just looks at your area and decides that you were cheating and that you get banned, and like that triggers it. But like, it's not the only information we can see. just so you guys are aware.
I know, thanks.
Yeah. Just keep that in mind. It's not really actually that difficult to look at players' account info and know whether or not they've exploited or cheated to get to where they are. Anywho, I've been listening to Girl Scouts Glory lately. Yeah, so I didn't realize that Girl Scouts Glory had actually come back as a podcast only, because like I was under the impression that what they were doing was they were waiting for like. They kept trying to get another studio to film their actual like Sunday broadcasts, and then eventually, like, I stopped hearing about them. I didn't realize that they had actually started doing a podcast for it, which is cool. I can't say that I was a regular viewer, but I checked out a few episodes, and I was just happy that it exists because, you can count the number of D&D shows online that have an all-female cast on one hand, probably still at this point. With the big ones being Girl Scouts Glory and most of Sirens of the Realms. I think Jason Charles Miller just counts as one of the Sirens. So
guest star,
Yeah. Anyways, what else you got? We got time. You got other questions? I've never heard of these things. Are they podcasts? There's lots of them. Dark Dragon. Acquisitions Incorporated probably might have been the very, very first. in that they started as a podcast. I mean, long before Critical Role. I mean, Ac Inc. is like 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that. Started as a podcast with, you know, Chris Perkins and the folks from Penny Arcade. I think Scott Kurtz was on it back at the start. Will Wheaton was on it back at the start. Jerry Holkins and Mike Krahulik. You know, and then like Morgan Webb was eventually on it sometimes. And, you know, like it's kind of like it's turned into its own thing where like it seems like it's the main Ac Inc. is more of just a stage show at PAX than anything else. But they started a lot of this in terms of just a more accessible D&D. Yeah. Is that beeping coming through on the mic? I'm just wondering because I can hear it from outside, and so it's like it's coming into my headphones. But I'm just wondering if you guys can hear it in the chat. There's like a truck backing up outside. No? Okay, thank God. I'm always wondering. So, like the sensitivity of the headphones and the microphones is such that like we can easily hear the vents overhead, and we can hear the rest of the people in our office on the other side of the wall. I heard beeping.
Beeps.
Okay,
no. Okay, you can.
Yeah. Okay, you guys can hear it too. Okay, it's not just me. God, that's obnoxious. So our neighbors in this building know that Thursdays are the only days where we give a shit if they make noise, and they do it anyways. So, yeah. It's okay. There's the business that takes up the bulk of the building. Like we take up the second most amount of space, but the first amount of space is a what do you call it? Like a plumbing slash irrigation business. Yeah. So they have warehouses full of different piping and cords, and like trucks are constantly coming in and going out because, you know, that's who they are. And so it sounds like they're getting a delivery right now. And what's even more interesting is that all of our desks and tables in the office are actually over top of their warehouse. And so when things are getting stacked on the top shelf, you can feel it in the floor. And when things get dropped or fall over in the warehouse, oh boy, can you hear and feel it. So I'm glad that that's not happening while we're on stream. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's see. There is a very large glaring typo in Minsk's bio. Boo is a genuine miniature giant space hamster. Please fix so he can bring his psychological support hamster to inns and markets.
I would love to see someone tell Minsk that he can't bring Boo.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he'd stand for that. So.
I don't think he would get it.
No.
Because like it just doesn't cross his mind that Boo isn't amazing. Because Boo is amazing.
Yeah.
I usually tell players that the reason that we have Minsk in the game is because we wanted Boo in the game. Which, you know, he's there on his shoulder. I mean, I'm not using Minsk right now, but yeah. Sweet in-game presents or offers for New Year. What I can say about that is that this week there has been a lot of discussion about what our holiday present for players is going to be. And what is tentatively decided on may not end up being the actual thing. So it's still an in-progress thing, so I can't really talk about it too much. But I hope to, by the time we do the final stream of the year, which will be on the 17th, I think. What's it, 5th, 12th, 19th. It'll be on the 19th. It'll be on Star Wars Day. We should know by then and be able to tell everybody what they can expect. But they will have to have signed up for the newsletter in order to get it. So just keep that in mind. I don't know why somebody who's playing this game wouldn't be signed up for the newsletter, because you just get free stuff every week, but just in case. Alrighty. Did you have a chance to play during lunchtime since Thanksgiving break? So not a huge amount, because our DM, Adam, has been out with the flu for a week. So I don't think we have played since I last talked about it on stream. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, so we have done something. Just to catch everybody up quickly, our party completed. We got through the Amber Temple and restored the memory to the owner / founder of the Amber Temple. I don't want to dive too much into it. Or if you have yet to play Curse of Strahd and you want everything to be spoiler free, just mute us for like 30 seconds to a minute. So basically, I'll just wait a second just in case somebody needs to mute it. We pilgrimaged to the Amber Temple, met an elf outside named Casimir, this older dude, went in with him. He went full evil on us. Our druid was killed by an Arcanoloth who cast Finger of Death on him, which insta-killed him. And it made him into a zombie who then attacked our bard. And so we kind of dealt with that. Our cleric managed to take our druid's soul and put it into a construct that we found in the temple. I don't think that's in the base Curse of Strahd book, but it was in ours. And so we did that to resurrect our druid. And then we found and my character murdered the wizard who went full evil. Because my character's got issues with that kind of thing, and did something very evil to deal with them. And then we made our way into the vault, got the gems and stuff that we needed because we needed diamonds so that we could kill and resurrect our priest to cure them of vampirism, because it's a D&D game and that's what happens. Came across the Lich that is one of the founding wizards of the Amber Temple. We restored his memory because we're stupid. And he helped us out of the temple, but my character, being a rogue, tried to pickpocket him, and then he tried to kill her and basically told us to F off and never come back. So we left. We fought the Rock of Mount Gacchus, which in our game was also a phoenix, so it lit on fire, and we had like this sort of like air skiff that got basically torn out of the sky. We crashed, made our way back to Argynvost Holt. After killing the Phoenix, we made our way back to Argynvost Holt. We killed and resurrected our cleric. We fought off some demons. We convinced the residents to give us a magical item that we had quested there for, but the magic item has a cursed soul attached to it, and so we actually took it back to the Amber Temple and got the Lich to imprison the cursed soul in one of the amber slabs, like all the other things that are in there, and that's where we left off, pretty much. Yeah, and that makes about as much sense as a D&D game does, because hey, we're kind of using the books, but we're like way off script, and yeah, lots going on.
And don't drink potions you find on the side of the road, kids.
Yeah. Unless they say good for you on them. Alrighty. When Xander attacks during early levels and a unit dies from the click damage instantly, does it count as a miss? That's a good question, PFI dude. I don't know, because I don't know the order in which those interactions is firing off, so I'm just going to pass that along and see if I can't get a dev response on that one, because I don't know. Will there be option to do 2.0 speed or something along those lines? I'm not sure what that means, Mr. Real Pally. Like, are you asking whether or not potions of speed will be able to go up to an even higher order of magnitude than they already do? Because probably not. Yeah. Will the Black Viper red gem limit increase in the future? I just got to 6.5k. Not sure if I should continue collecting them. It's kind of on our list. Like, I wouldn't expect anything around the Black Viper to happen until we start getting into reevaluating Year 2 champions, which will happen, because we're actually really happy with Black Viper's design, because the character turned out amazingly. Yeah, we will evaluate the character probably in the future. Which will happen in Year 4. Well, part of the thing about getting ahead in the ways that I've described Garwar is like getting far enough ahead on our content schedule and our other things that like we can take on other more ambitious projects. And things like champion rebalances are ambitious projects that take up a lot of basically Justin's time, since he's the only one in-house who can do it. So, yeah. Alrighty. Hi, I'm a new player and I was wondering about challenges. Where can I find where the challenges are? It's in the... So... It's funny because I only play the Gamepad UI for streams, so I always forget where stuff is. But basically, in your patron screen, like, I don't know, here's Bajra. She has a shop. Oh, God. And challenges, weekly challenges. So it's in your patron screen. So you will need to have had your patrons unlocked in order to do it. Looks like I should do some Vajra patron quests. I don't know if that's helpful to you, but yeah. Any spoilers you can reveal regarding future Ravenloft content you are working on? Mr. Negaton, like, we are kind of done with the Curse of Strahd / Ravenloft campaign in IdleChampions at the moment. Right now, we are, like, Grand Tour is focused on doing a number of adventures associated with the Sunless Citadel, which is, it came out in Tales from the Yawning Portal a couple of years ago, but it was also adapted from like a 3E adventure in like 2000, 2001. And so we have a few more adventures for that, I think, is the next kind of arc that we're working on. And then after that is TBD. There are some other campaign books that we would like to incorporate content from. Like we are interested in introducing some of the stuff from Storm King's Thunder. We are interested in introducing some of the stuff from some of the other 5e books. And so that kind of thing seems like a likely route we'll take, but it's not guaranteed. A lot can happen in between now and when the next Grand Tour adventures get designed. So we'll see. But yeah, right now it's Sunless Citadel, and we're not quite done it yet. I don't want to spoil what happens in it, even though that adventure is 20 years old. But it's coming. Nice to see other modules get some love. When we started, we'd originally planned to do stuff with like Storm King's Thunder, like to do a permanent campaign around it. But we quickly realized that with the release schedule we have, we can only really add a permanent campaign once a year, like when the book comes out, which of course we're going to try and do it related to that book at that time. But that means that going back and adding another permanent campaign from another book is just not something that's feasible for us, because we need to start campaigns each year and finish campaigns each year. And like, we haven't finished Tomb of Annihilation yet. Like, it's narratively done, but there's still more challenging variants to add to it with Dragonbait. And then I think we might be 100% done then. Don't quote me on it, because that might not be the case. But like, I think at that point we will have done all of our goals. We will have achieved all of our goals in there. So, yeah. And of course, there's more books coming out. There will be another one coming out in September of next year that I'm looking forward to hearing what the name is going to be, because I really don't know. I was just making sure you didn't start spoiling anything.
Already in trouble once.
You're the Tom Holland of Codename Entertainment.
No,
it's not a bad thing. He's endearing. Come on. Didn't you see the way he did Singing in the Rain on that?
No, I didn't. Okay.
Lip sync thing?
Is there more things I need to YouTube after the stream?
He won the lip sync battle so thoroughly against Zendaya, is that how you say her name? That it was actually kind of surprising, in that she's an actual pop star, so you figured she would nail it. But he won. And he started it, you're like, oh, that's cute, that's very Tom Holland. And then by the end of it, you're like, he won this, he beat everybody who's ever done it. Yeah. It was, an amazing video in a way that you just weren't expecting. Epka, what version of the game are you running? It looks different from ours. I am playing IdleChampions of Forgotten Realms on Steam using the Gamepad UI. If you go into your settings menu, I'm just going to hit the button. There's a toggle down here called Gamepad UI Mode. And if you toggle it on, the game will close, and the next time you load it, it'll try to load it in the Gamepad UI Mode, but you will have to have a gamepad plugged in order for it to work. Otherwise, it's like, you don't have one. So, yeah. Which is also one of the reasons why we don't have that available on mobile or tablets. So, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. No, you Windows, stop being crappy. There we go. Alrighty. Was there an answer?
Yes.
Okay, so PFI dude who'd asked, when Xander attacks during early levels and a unit dies from click damage, does it count as a miss? Justin says it does not count as a miss. So just figured I'd follow up now that I actually got the response to that. Can we expect much more from Dragon Heist aside from Fight 2 with Xanathar? That's a good question for Chris, because Chris is he's our live services manager, but also he kind of architects where all the storylines go and how they all fit together. And I'm not sure what he's doing. So one of the things is that, like, if you're DMing Dragon Heist for your friends, say, and you're following the book to the letter, you kind of pick between one of the 4 possible antagonists and you pursue an end game through that. And like it kind of dictates what the last chapter of the game, your gameplay is. We haven't really picked just one of them for our campaign, and one of those antagonists also is in our party. So we kind of are doing something a little bit different. So we're not... Yeah, I'm not really sure how much more we're going to do. There are a number of things that still have yet to go, and we'll see. Alrighty. I think your approach to Waterdeep is pretty interesting. The way the campaign plays out in the game is pretty different from how it goes for most groups. What was your reason for doing that? Part of it, Liege Hashtur, is that we don't want to unintentionally just spoil the book for somebody. Like, say you are somebody who is playing Dragon Heist. If you play Waterdeep Dragon Heist in IdleChampions, you will get some of the story points from the TRPG book over the course of your adventure, but for the most part, it will be an individual experience that's different. It's the IdleChampions version, just like it's different for you if you play. Sorry, I'm just distracted by Gremlins Cinematic Universe. It's just we wanted to make sure it was at least a little different, because if we if we were adapting the exact book for all of our campaigns, then that would be kind of, I don't know, a little unfair. Like, it'd be a little bit spoilery, and we don't want to do that. So, yeah. Irie, does the game aim to stay in early access for its life, or will it have an official release? We will be coming out of early access at some point. Yeah, I can't give you a date. But yeah, it will be coming. Let's see. For the Avernus campaign, what time is it? Will there be adventures where we have to pilot infernal machines and place champions in certain slots, such as one slot is for a driver and the other is designed to act as a weapon turret? God, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I see Dark Dragon asking what the difference between a release and an early access. Dark Dragon, in our eyes, it means that the game is more or less feature complete. Like, we're not adding any more major features to the game. And hopefully we've also addressed all the memory issues and other performance-related issues by that time. And then it's just kind of like, then it's that part is done. We'll continue adding content, but yeah. Who's the better spoiler, Chris or Margaret? It depends on what you're trying to get out of their spoilers.
I'm not going to let this down.
No, you have a reputation to uphold now. Chris very enthusiastically likes being able to talk about all the stuff he's working on, which, fair enough. And he's also in a position to know what's coming up next, and he's more in a position to spoil stuff than either of us will ever be in, because he's designing a lot of it. So, he could say, he could talk about what's in his head if he wanted to, and it would be spoilers. It would be spoilers, yeah. If you're wanting more stuff spoiled, Chris is probably your guy. But Chris is also real busy right now, so his chances of being on stream are way lower. If I was sick today... Actually, no, if I was sick today, we probably just wouldn't have streamed, but... Trial by fire. Yeah, well, that's a little unfair. 2 hours by yourself? No. Yeah. Which is, I say that as, a huge amount of the office has been out sick this week with flu and stuff. It's just, yeah.
We have a plague.
Yeah. I guess if we can expect to go back deeper down into Undermountain. Maybe... Undermountain is there. It's on the map screen we have for Waterdeep now. So yeah. If there's a final Dragon Vault adventure, I would love a variant that restricts Jarlaxle and makes him your final boss. I mean, that's an interesting way of putting it, but yeah, I'm not sure what Chris's plan is, because Jarlaxle is in our party. Kind of like how we're doing Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, but Archon and Krull are in our party, right? And if you have that book, Archon and Krull are NPCs you can come across in Avernus. Yeah, and you can do horrible things for them to earn their favor. Alrighty. Is there a way to have a character based on languages in the formation? Have a high intelligence, wisdom, low strength and constitution, average dex, and charisma. The more languages one can speak, the more different races in the formation, the more said formation is buffed. Like, what do you guys think of a character that bases their buff on languages spoken, like Common, Infernal, etc.? It's not impossible, and there's that. What was that Unearthed Arcana subclass that came out recently? It was about the power of names. I'm just gonna pull up. Somebody's gonna remember in chat before I finish looking this up. I just know it, but
They know things.
No, they're just faster than I am. Onomancy. That's the name I was looking for. Yeah, and so like an Onomancer. You know, the power of language and names and stuff would be really, really interesting. Sounds like it'd play well with the Kinku. Well, I don't know. I mean, if they need to be able to say the words, maybe. I mean, they mimic it, I guess. Anyways, so that's an interesting avenue to pursue a design that's based around language. So it's not impossible, but one thing I want to point out right now is that we don't have languages spoken as something that we track for our characters. It's not listed on their character sheets or anything like. Yes, of course. A bunch of them are going to be polyglots, but it's not something we have in the game. So we would also need to add that to the game. So I don't know. I'm not saying that we won't ever do anything like that, but it's not something that's kind of like fits within the design scope of how we approach things right now. Who will give us more free stuff, Chris or Margaret? I will, because I get the free shit. Yeah, stuff shows up at Codename with my name on it, and then it's the box of stuff, or Clive's name, but he just hands it to me then. So, are you looking forward to being on your stream on your own next week? As Dylan has predicted, he will be sick. I'm not going to be sick next week. The thing that's going around the office isn't the kind of thing that I get. I get sinus stuff. Hand of Vecna Archon needs to happen. Maybe the holiday giveaway. Hand of Vecna Archon is in the formation right now and will be coming to the game next week. And no, we're not giving him away because he's awesome. It's Hand of Vecna Archon. Come on. An idea to mix things up. Chase areas where your formation is on the right side of the screen and monsters attack the back column. Oh, so like you were trying to escape. It's an interesting idea. I guess the thing is like, we don't have character models, and we don't technically have sprites either, but like our characters are drawn in a two-dimensional way. And so that would really mess with our animation that we've created. And I can't foresee us in any way overhauling that in order to have them attack in the opposite direction. Like, that's extraordinarily unlikely. Yeah.
I think the artists would kill us.
Well, I mean, if it was decided to happen, then they would kill Chris or Justin, whoever told them that they have to do it. Yeah, I do really like the idea of driving infernal war machines, and so like there's a couple, like maybe there's 2 war machines on screen, and your formation is like you have a pilot, co-pilot right beside each other, and then like a couple others at the back, and only ranged champions can attack, and you're just fighting other cars, Road Warrior style. That would be killer. It also sounds like, as amazing as it would be an art nightmare, and as happy as Adam would be to make that a reality, he would also grumble about the fact that it's horrifically complicated and a crazy amount of work. So, I don't know. I will pass it along, though. I will gladly pass that along, because it's similar to what I was thinking. How much power will Archon need to usurp before he can become a Warlock patron? Well, Evil Sales Associate, let me put it this way. If you're going by the Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus book, Archon is a CR 16 monster. like just monster, like the kind of guy who can wipe your party, and but also like more potent than like a Rakshasa, and a Rakshasa is a fiend that you could make your patron. So I think it is fully plausible that Archon could be your patron in D&D, but like, wouldn't you go to the source? Like, if you wanted Archon to be your patron, wouldn't you want just Tiamat to be your patron? I don't know. You know, why talk to the middle manager? You know, I'll talk to the manager, please. Oh, yeah. Where can we view little game updates that don't show up in the in-game changelog? Like today's update. Today's update didn't show up in the in-game changelog? Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I can't check it in this version. That's a great question that I'm going to pass along because it's supposed to be in the in-game changelog. Yeah. I wonder if it's one of those things that it just hasn't propagated, or I don't know. I'm gonna try and see if I can get an answer about that. Anywho, it's yeah. It tends to be if they're tiny updates that don't show up in the in-game changelog, then they're usually fixes for something to make it work as intended. Yeah. We'll watch that after. Oh, that's weird. I clicked on the screen where I was watching myself. Live stream pro. As Matthias, apparently if you reload the game right now, it should be there. So yeah. Yeah, so some players are seeing changelog 275 and some are seeing 274.
It's propagating.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things about game development, and I'm sure some players are very aware of this and some may not be, is that when we hit go for the update to be out on all platforms, oh boy, does it not necessarily show up at all platforms at the same time. Last week it was 12 or 16 hours or something before Simril 3 showed up on iOS. Which is it's not a regular occurrence for us because we get our builds done in advance and we're working to try and get everything out because we want things to come out as close to it the exact same time as possible. But it's just sometimes it's a little bit beyond our ability to control, and and sometimes it's also our fault too. But we're working on it. Indie studio, etc. So it's 20-3. Unity is also poop. Well, we actually don't have the game in Unity on every platform, right? I wouldn't say that Unity is poop at all because I think that Unity is awesome. But I'd say that Unity does not excel at making games like ours. We use it in ways that it is not designed for, and that's part of the challenges. Yeah. Anywho, what else? What else is going on? Next week's update is a content update. If I kept talking there would have been one of those like really awkward mid-sentence burps, and I didn't want to do that. So next week's content update will be more adventures and variants for Descent into Avernus. No, we will not be driving Infernal War Machines next week, unfortunately. Possibly not ever, but I hope that we can do something like that. And then the week after that will be the last event of 2019, Winter Shield, with a character that people really want, whose design, now that I've looked at it and now that I actually understand it, because I had to get Justin to give me some clarity on how some of the stuff would interact, is bonkers good. So we shall see. It's interesting. We have a lot of characters in the game now. So You're always wondering, hey, how is this going to fit in? And like, if you release this character, is it going to break a character that's not currently broken? Etc. And I mean broken in a positive way, in that like you get a really powerful result, not a broken as in it doesn't work. So we'll see. I already love Neris. She could use a boost. I use Neris in my Cron formations if I'm using a 10 champion formation, because she's strong and spiritual weapon is super sweet. So yeah. Anything else? No. I mean,
Yeah.
don't spoil anything. But like, is there anything else? I love scripting in C# and the ability to make changes to script without requiring total recompile of the project. Yeah. Will the upcoming adventure's name be almost the same as an existing variant? Are you talking about Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus' update? Because even though I'm not gonna lie, I've actually already written next week's blog for that, but I can't remember right now what the names are. Yeah. Yeah, so we're kind of we're winding down. We're going to do one more giveaway. And I don't talk about it a whole lot because they kind of just, like, Erica is, managing all the chat and doing the giveaways and all the raffles and all that stuff all at once. But what we have been giving away of late has been just, 7 chest packs of whatever type of chest you want. So, if you want them to be for a specific event champion or a specific weekend promo, etc. So yeah. Pretty excited for that, I think, because I think that's awesome. Other than that, like, we're trying to get ready for the end of the year. We close. I'm going to give you guys the dates. We are closed from, I believe, Monday the 23rd until I think we open again on the 2nd, which is a Thursday. I don't know if we will be streaming on Thursday, January 2nd, because I'm not sure what kind of office explosion we're going to come back to in terms of like how busy we are and what's going on. Right now, we are working to try and get far enough ahead that when we get back, we just continue working at a regular pace, as if we'd taken some time off. But we'll see. I mean, one year we came back and Barrowan had absolutely annihilated our game, right? So you just never know. So that's what we're working on right now. We have our update next week for more Descent into Avernus adventures on the Wednesday, and then that's the 11th. And then on Wednesday the 18th we have Winter Shield 3. Which will run until Monday the 30th of December, and then an update with Dragonbait for Wednesday the 1st of January 2020. Yeah, we made it to 2020. It's crazy, right? 2020.
Decade ends.
That's so weird.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know what? Maybe you'll stream on the 2nd of January.
Trial by fire.
Yeah. Well, no, you will have. You'll have been back up on 3, 4, or 4 streams by then.
Yeah.
This seems good. It's more of a. It's more practice than I got.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Although I did.
I don't have like your in-depth knowledge of the game yet, and probably never will.
Well, I don't know. I think you might be a little smarter than I am. But I did work in radio and stuff before this, so this stuff was pretty not too difficult. Yeah. In fact, I actually put that computer together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I'm not too happy with the cable management, but it's okay, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I hope you stream it on. Yeah. I mean, we might stream on the 2nd of January. That would be fun because it'd be like. If we don't, then we would Dragonbait would have come and gone, and I think we would be into the midwinter event by the time we stream again. If we waited until January 9th, so maybe. Anyways, yeah. That's kind of it. It's funny. We like. I feel like I've ended 10 minutes early, and I'm not sure what to do now. What's TV show? Are you watching any TV shows? Are there any TV shows you like?
I'm currently watching The Crown.
Okay, season 3.
Season 3. It's interesting in the handoff of the cast.
Yeah,
I like it. It's
Olivia Colman and Helena Bonham Carter now instead of Claire Foy and what was the girl's name?
Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have Charles Dance as Lord Mountbatten.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like.
I like him as an actor. He's good.
Can't remember the actor's name, but he played Edmure Tully in Game of Thrones.
Prince God!
Philip, and that's kind of weird.
I think of him as his character on Outlander, where he was just an amazing douche. He was such an asshole. Game of Thrones, he's in like 2 episodes, but
yeah, I don't know. I think my favorite moment was then. So it was like, no, just sit down, Uncle.
Yeah, when he stands up there, like, just sit down. Yeah, that was good. That was one of the more redeeming moments in the end of that series.
Yeah. There are feelings in this office about Game of Thrones. There are a lot of feelings.
There's a surprising amount of feelings. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that I was 100% happy with how it wrapped up, but I also like knowing that they were well past where the published books were, and that they had been operating on essentially the Cliff Notes version of Game of Thrones for 2 to 3 seasons at that point, and they knew where they wanted to end the show. Mm-hmm. I am not in any way surprised that the things came together what felt like way too quickly, and that like it all started like moving really, really fast and just kind of like a speeding train towards a very specific destination. And so like knowing that, it didn't bother me. And I was still entertained watching the episodes. But if I want to sit here and pick apart what happened, it's a little too easy because there's a lot of stuff that you can easily pick apart, which is a little sad because I don't think any show has had the kind of like care and craft in making it ever. Like, filming on 3 continents at a time with multiple film crews and a massive cast and like. Just the props and outfits and stuff were like at least as good as Lord of the Rings, and like it's the scale of the operation. It's just a little sad that it didn't come together as well as it could have.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of changed the television a little bit in the sense that characters can die now, whereas
that makes me happy actually. Yeah. Not to relish in others suffering, but like. A lot of shows, characters just end up with plot armor, and you never worry about anything because there are no stakes, and they made it very okay for you to worry about characters because they set a bar. And like, granted, the ones that made it towards the end, when you thought about it, like, okay, they were always going to make it to the end. Yeah. And so like, they kind of had plot armor the whole time, but because they killed the right characters all throughout, you always felt like you could lose one. And so that was great. Yeah, I did really enjoy the Long Night episode. I thought that was awesome. I wish it was longer, because it felt like it should have been like a week's long siege that was just utterly hopeless and more people should have died. But I still thought it was outstandingly directed and amazing. And a lot of people complained about the visibility. I'm like, it's a blizzard. You shouldn't have been able to see anything.
The point is you can't see anything.
Yeah, it should have been worse. But I get why people complained about it. It's actually so D&D Live this past year, The Descent, they picked the series finale weekend to do it. So
how'd that go?
We were still at The Descent, having like unpacked everything, and like we were breaking stuff down and getting ready to wrap up the biggest D&D event of the year while that was frickin' broadcasting. And so Eric and I kind of like we ended up at Jason Charles Miller's house with Satine and TJ and a bunch of other people, and like we watched the TiVo or whatever that, like, we watched it whenever its later broadcast was, and like I managed to, also none of us went on the internet, so we watched it late, but like we got to watch it with a group of people, and like so it was a unique experience in that way. But like after having watched it, I'm like Any other shows that you're watching?
That's it for right now. What about you?
Let's see. What are we watching right now? The two shows we're watching right now, I guess 3, but one of them doesn't count. The two shows we're watching are His Dark Materials, which I don't know how I feel about yet. I'm really enjoying watching it, and I think the casting is good, and I'm liking it so far. But they've already started to expand upon the story is not told in the books, and like there's a character that doesn't show up until book 2 who is already on the show like 4 episodes in, and like it's doing the story that they kind of hinted towards in the second book but never told. And so I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I will wait and see whether or not I'm happy with them doing that.
I have a question for you. Did you read the trilogy growing up?
Yep.
Did you think that subtle was pronounced subtle for a really long time?
Oh, the subtle knife?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, because I thought
Subtle?
it was the subtle knife for.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm sure I got something else wrong, but no, not that one. Yeah, and I liked the books, and also like I feel like anybody who hasn't read the books and is watching the show and enjoying it, boy, are you not prepared for where this goes. Like you're just not. Yeah, that and The Watchmen, which is just a surprisingly brilliant and layered show about just the racial history of the United States, and it's like, it justified itself very well a few episodes in, and they've done some really, really brave storytelling with it, and I'm not convinced that it's going to wrap up brilliantly, but we'll see. Really, really liking it. Other than that, I'm just waiting for The Expanse next week.
Take Dylan's reviews.
Yeah. Oh, The Expanse is so good. So good.
I'm waiting for the next season of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, yeah. I haven't watched that. My wife watched it. She really, really liked it.
It's really funny.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, really funny.
How dark and edgy is it? Because that tends to be what I watch most of.
Like, for the era that it's portraying, a bit more edgy, but, like, it's something you could watch with your parents. And
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe at some point. I'm just, I guess I've read all the Expanse books, so I know exactly what's going to happen this season, but I'm just, it's one of those rare, ultra rare instances where they're doing an amazing job of adapting those books, including introducing characters like way earlier than they show up in books, just to like give them all their whole stories and stuff. And like, it's an example of doing it extremely well. And now that they're on Amazon, I'm curious what kind of budget they have, because the scale of events in the books really goes up. So we will see. But they've also already greenlit another season after the one that's coming out. So I'm real happy. Best sci-fi since rebooted Battlestar? Absolutely. Easily, yeah. It's definitely up there. I know a lot of people are like, what about Westworld? I'm like, well, Westworld is good, and I like it. But Westworld was a very specific work of art, whereas...
I like it, but
Westworld?
All the like ethical implications. And
yeah, that's the stuff that makes it interesting. But the original, it doesn't feel like a science fiction show, really. It is absolutely a sci-fi show, but it doesn't feel like one. Whereas The Expanse and Battlestar Galactica, those are very they're space operas. So, yeah, I guess that's the difference. And The Dark Crystal this year, whenever that came out. I can't remember when it came out, but it was an absolute work of art. Just cinematic beauty, like, I don't know. The kind of thing that I would be very surprised if we ever saw anything like it again, but you never know. Might be 30 years from now. Yeah. Anywho, I've rambled on about shows for a while. And, everybody's talking about shows in chat. Yeah. Westworld's not for everybody. I did like it. I really liked it, too. The thing I liked the most about it was the way they played off of, like, gaming stereotypes and like the way that they had adapted all these really interesting pieces of music to play them in different ways throughout the series. Like, that was kind of the stuff that I liked the most. Like, there's a whole bunch of like Nine Inch Nails on piano, and like, it's like, what's that guy playing on the piano in the saloon? And it's like, oh, he's playing Black Hole Sun, or like they're in their like weird, I can't remember what they called the India area of it right now. But they're playing Seven Nation Army with a bunch of instruments. Oh yeah, all the music in it is like popular. Mostly, it's almost also alternative music or like rock music, but done in really trippy ways, which I thought was a really cool extra layer on top of everything else that they did, and it was super compelling. Like I really liked Westworld a lot. I don't think of it in the same way that I think of other sci-fi shows. So, yeah. Alrighty. Anywho, it's about that time. So. I would like to say thank you all for joining us for our rambling stream this week. And this has been our show for Thursday, December 5th, 2019. So thank you all for joining us, for participating in the IdleChampions and the Dungeons & Dragons communities. You guys are awesome. This show exists because of a number of cool people. Including our co-producer Erica, as well as our partners at D&D, Greg, Bart, Pelham, Allison, Shawling, Lisa. Thanks to Margaret for joining me today. Take care, everybody, and have a wonderful weekend. I shouldn't have been holding something during that because I usually do other things with my hands at the same time at the end, and then I didn't because, anyways. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.